Explorers, and welcome to episode 60. As always, joining me is a guy that rivals the amount of steps Basil took on Code 4 to track Kelnacker. It's my greatest and bestest Star Wars friend, Jimmy.
Howdy.
So I'd say, how's your week been? But I want to know how your weekend's been.
Woo! Boy, why don't we save that for the main show?
Yeah, why not? How's your week been?
Good. Week's been good. Good to be home, always, and then just getting ready to pack up and head to see my family back in Pennsylvania. So I'm kind of excited for that trip.
Nice.
It'll be good. And then it's a little sad for teachers. We hit July 1st. That just means
It's coming.
one last month. Yeah. So
It's
that's a little sad and depressing. But what about you, man? What have you been up to?
Yeah, same thing for me. Not being able to move much, sofa bound. Start my physio today when the listeners will be listening to this, hopefully on the Tuesday. But yeah, apart from that, mate, just carry on reading my books, listen to my audiobooks, watching Star Wars.
Read Temptation of the Force. It is so good.
That's going to be next on the list.
When it ends in a way you're like, nah.
No way. Oh,
God.
Oh, God, I need to get on that. And speaking of Temptation of the Force, I know that we've had a few new members again with the temptation of joining us. So thank you so much for those joiners. Jimmy, as always, the floor is yours.
Oh, here we go. All right. So first off, welcome everybody, and a huge apology for what's about to happen. All right. Keith Finucci, Details, has joined us. That's very exciting. Stephen H., Dan Sexton, Adam_Ish, Tobra Racing 29, Emperor Belsidius, Pixie Dust, Ashley Marina, and Ashley, we did not meet this weekend. We were messaging back and forth, got a little crazy, so I apologize for that. The Rory Ross from The Mandalorian and some other things joined us. Cabrera 7060, Cyber Viking 117, Darth Introvertus, that's a pretty funny name. Fernando David Villarella Riviera, Shut Up Laura, she is from Force Toast Podcast, and I'll just real quick shout out to them. Chicago was my very first Star Wars celebration. It was in their hometown, and her and Alice were so gracious and so awesome and just so lovely, and helped us out a ton with things. So thanks for joining us. British Pixie Creation, she made some cool stuff this weekend. I saw Los 0807, Alan Clark, Roger Horning, Jeremiah Cooper Smith, Raul Fernandez, Adam Isherwood, Turntable to the Dark Side. Yeah, he was awesome. We just met him this weekend. Really cool channel. Gary Werzinger, Grumpy Gondolorian, Aunt Joanna, the Nemo of the Night. Nemo of the Night was the guy who was kind of in charge of the panel room this weekend, and he had some pretty cool takes. And don't listen to anything he says about me missing any trivia questions, because it's all a lie. Lies. Deception. But welcome, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. As always, if you're listening and you haven't already joined, Explore the Force, all one word. We're over on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, and YouTube. And any of those you join, please like, share. And if you get on the YouTube, help and subscribe. Also, at this point, it's worth mentioning a massive thank you. I know, obviously, I put it all over the socials, but a massive thank you, as always, to everyone joining. Me and Jimmy, super appreciate the love and support we've had from day one. It's been incredible. We do really appreciate it, and I keep harping on, but we've now hit over 600 followers, which is a big deal for us on Instagram. We're almost at the 400 mark on the Facebook, and I want to get to 1,000 on everything, clearly. So again, please share the word, share Explore the Force everywhere. Thank you so much to everybody. Okay, so let's do this week's Force Encounters.
All right, so my whole weekend from Thursday to Sunday afternoon was a big giant Force encounter. We'll talk about a little bit more, but I did finish Temptation of the Force while I was driving down to and listening to it on audiobook down to Dallas for the thing. So that was really cool. Really great book. That thing just was go. I think we only have one last adult novel to finish things off, and the way this book ended, woohoo, baby. Then I got home and my wife and I hadn't really got to spend any time together. And she's like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I don't know." So I came home to noodles and to Legoing. So last night we did that as well. So that was awesome. Welcome back. So yeah, I've just had a hell of a Force encounter Star Wars life the last few days. So I hope it
Nice.
never ends. How about you, Jack?
Nice. Yeah. Well, mine's a bit of a strange one, to be honest. I can't remember exactly what day it was, but I got a random message off a certain person that's heavily involved in Star Wars. Said they'd heard about the show. They were interested to come on, so we are going to be getting them on. So it's more of a Force encounter / look forward to some of the stories that they've got. As always, are all incredible. This person has been heavily involved in Star Wars, and more recently was involved in the Acolyte. They were on the Force Awakens, but yeah, more on that on some upcoming episodes. So exciting stuff. I think you'll be very happy with the certain guest. Happy days. Right, let's head over to Batuu then and see what news we've got coming out there. Okay, some awesome news for the gamers like myself and Jimmy out there. Star Wars Bounty Hunter Enhanced is coming out for all consoles and PC and the Nintendo Switch. Basically, it's a remake / enhanced edition, like the title says, of Django Fett. And there's also a bonus Easter egg that they've kept in the game. I'm not going to spoil that, but it's definitely worth getting. Have you said anything about that, Jimmy?
No, well, I saw it. I thought it was just going to be the Switch. So I'm kind of pumped. August 1st, I can download that, and that'll hopefully get me through until the end of August when Star Wars Outlaws comes out. And
Yeah.
so I'm pretty excited about that. I never played that game. Like, I kind of missed that whole Star Wars N64 era because I was in the military. But I know my brothers have played the heck out of that game and loved it. So I'll be kind of excited to hop on that and play it. So
Nice.
But yeah, and in other news, we got the Black Series, the Stranger electronic helmet, brand new from Hasbro. This is up for pre-order on the 27th of June, 6 p.m. GMT, and is released in autumn of 2025, costing just about $100. And it threw me off because it looks like it's nice and light and almost like a tan color, you know. So I was kind of thrown off by it. I thought it was a fake post when I saw it the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. The colouring is all off. I think it's going to put a lot of people off, especially for that price as well. When they brought out the Kylo Ren helmet, it was great colours on that, but also it also had the voice amplifier. This one hasn't got that function on it either, which is pretty
I'm assuming
disappointing.
it's probably screen accurate. It's just it looks different in the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it depends. There'll be things that they'll have to do. Again, the Kylo Ren one was supposed to be screen accurate, but a lot of stuff on Hasbro isn't, just because of the amount of stuff they're pumping out. You're not going to get that movie accurate quality. But I think all you had to do for the Kylo Ren one was essentially black out the eyelids using like tights, which is pretty easy, and put all the putty in the seams around the sides of the helmet where you could see where the helmet had joined essentially. So it was really easy to get movie accurate to a degree. And speaking of movies, obviously it's the anniversary for the Phantom Menace, and to celebrate, Hasbro are going to be selling their exclusives directly to the public at San Diego Comic-Con. It's the first time they've done that for a while. So that means having a valid San Diego Comic-Con badge. And $60, you can essentially get the Black Series Darth Maul and Speeder. Probably quite a sought out piece. I think it looks very nice in the box. I'd love to get that, if I'm honest. Big fan of obviously the Phantom Menace stuff. I have started collecting quite a few collectibles that people have seen on our Instagram. Have been dropping, Jimmy, and I think that's all the news we've got, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool, happy days. Okay, so this week then, obviously we're going to be interviewing Jimmy because he's been down at Rebel ScumCon, a bit of a tongue twister. So Jimmy, let's start then. Let's sort of go back to the start of the show. How was your weekend?
Wow. It was nuts. Just fantastic weekend.
Awesome.
Never thought I knew it was going to be fun. We know we had a few friends of the show and different content creators that we're friends with that were
Yeah.
going to be there. I was going down by myself, so I was a little apprehensive about that. But I'm usually fine doing that, entertaining myself. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was phenomenal. I can't even. We'll dive into some of these questions because I'll just be all over the map. But um, yeah, it just what I'm looking forward to number 2 already. Like, this was the first ever time they've done this. It is
Yeah.
the only one I know in the area, and I live in Kansas. That's down in Dallas. It was about a 5-hour drive to get down there. Dallas is
Nice.
massive, obviously, but it's the only con that I know of in the area, a couple states around me that's only Star Wars, other than the celebrations that come out, the only thing that was there was Celebration or was Star
Yeah.
Wars. So it was kind of exciting. I know you guys have them like that all the time over in the UK.
I was about to say, I know we've spoken before about it, and I was quite surprised when you said that America didn't really tend to have just cons for Star Wars.
We don't
Um,
have access to the people that you guys have. You've got people who in their daily life do one thing and then just happen to have been in Star Wars and
yeah.
we love them for it. Now we did get some of those people over here, which was pretty exciting, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, there are some people there that most of us would never usually typically get a chance to see. And I was trying to explain that to some of the content creators, like with the way you do it, is like, oh yeah, like it's no big deal to talk to these people because you could see them almost every weekend if somewhere doing something. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a blast, absolute riot. So yeah, let's dive into this.
Yeah, nice. Obviously, we've seen all the pictures and videos. I know there's a lot more to come. I'll be getting trickled
Yes,
out during the week. I had people, other content creators, sending me pictures and videos of you, Jimmy, and I put them on our stories, and that you causing chaos.
well, that
We'll
was
talk about
hilarious. I couldn't
that. Was
believe it.
that was absolutely class. We'll talk about that in a bit. So yeah, obviously it's Star Wars show that we've got. Well, I want to try and orientate it for the con as well, because again, I have no doubt they'll be listening more for feedback for them and other people. But organisation of the event, Jimmy, how organised was it?
For a first time going, I felt like it was more organized than Celebration. Now they weren't dealing with the masses, right?
Yeah,
It was kind of again their first year. Word hasn't really gotten out. I do think this thing will probably double in size for next year, and they've already started discussing how they're going to handle that. Organization was pretty good. They learned, they adjusted. It wasn't perfect, right? Nothing's going to be, but
no,
they had a really good attitude. I didn't see them. I spoke to a lot of the guys and ladies and people's moms
yeah,
who were running the event, and they were always super happy. They're really willing to make stuff work for everybody. And then I was fortunate enough to get to be there with Ross a few times, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But so then I got a little bit behind the scenes, and um, just the way they were like, hey, well, this vendor needs this. This person wants
yeah.
this person to be with them. And they just accommodated them. And it seemed like it was just like this. It was just like a bunch of friends hanging out kind of weekend. Now, I don't
That's
know. It
awesome.
might be like the first time you see Star Wars. This may be hard to duplicate, especially when it starts getting bigger. But I thought they did a really good job. They had a plan. They improved every single day. They got a little bit better.
Yeah,
Um, and so you can't really complain about it as a guest, as a person, paying customer coming in. Um, I can try to think of anything to complain about, and there is nothing, right? I'm not going to just make stuff up. I was really,
yeah.
really, really pleased with how the weekend went. Um,
Nice.
and so, yeah, I don't know because I had to leave before they did their final announcements, like their closing ceremony. So I don't know if they've already announced like when Rebel Scum Con 2 will be next year,
Yeah,
but um, I want you to fly over for it. Like it was that much fun, and just
nice.
for a lot of reasons too, which we'll dive into. But the organization, great. They had
Yeah.
some stuff that even Celebration doesn't have. I think Celebration will have some of this stuff, but we can get into that too.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Obviously, you already spoke about it with being a well-run event. So, bit of a daft question, but was it worth the money that you paid? What was the
Absolutely.
price?
I was an idiot. I tried to save a couple bucks, and I did because I was only going to be there Saturday and Friday and Saturday. So I was like, oh, I'm going to save a few bucks. I should have just gotten. I saved like $3 or $4.
Yeah.
Not because you could get a full weekend pass Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for $125.
Oh,
Right. So for you guys, it's like $100. You could get a VIP pass where you got in for an hour early for, I think it was 150 extra. And I don't know right now if you needed to have that one.
yeah.
It's kind of because of some stuff, I was able to get in there, and I was always in there before, like even some of the people, and like I said, I don't know if that's going to happen again next year or whatever. But yeah, 100% worth the money. I would have, yeah, 100%.
Nice. What was the best part for you, mate?
Man,
Or
that is
top
a
five?
tough,
What's your
that is
top
a
five?
tough one. Well, one, meeting content creators. We
Yeah.
got to meet the content creators. They had good stuff in the vendors area. Like, it wasn't like massive
Yeah.
space, but the stuff that was there was good quality, and it was really nice. The people were really friendly, so I like the vendors. And then how they had the signing room. You could go
Yeah.
in and you can just kind of walk around. We were taking up some
That's good.
space a couple times. It was nice to be able to like go in there and to see the different stars interacting and having fun, and then you get to watch them talk to each other. And that panels were off the chart. I know people are like, whoa, it, the biggest headliner was Ahmad Best, and we'll get into him
Yeah.
in a little bit. But they had people who are responsible for so many important things in Star Wars. And if you're truly, truly, truly a Star Wars fan, and these are the people, you could have
Yes.
Han, Luke, and
Yeah.
Leia. They're gonna look real dumb without all the supporting cast. And some of these guys were telling us stories. These men and women were telling us stories. A lot of the stunt guys about the things that they did and went through to make these movies work, and it blew me away. Like, I mean, and
Yeah.
then on the best, he was like super inspiring. It was a really great weekend. And then my number one thing, and here it kind of a combo. Lots of parents with their kids. We get all this talk about, well, Star Wars is dead. No one loves Star Wars. This generation's not liking it. Man, I had these handouts. We had little Grogu stickers with our logo stickers. And I had either snap bracelets or these Grogu stamps. Like, it was all Grogu related because I figured the little kids would like them. And I handed out so many of those, and everyone was so appreciative. And they were just simple little, gifts and trying to hook parents onto our show, if we're being honest. But the kids would light up getting the stuff.
Nice.
And so that was, and there's times where I'm just sitting down in the hallways and stuff and just watching. And that really spoke to me as, a fan, and people being concerned that maybe Star Wars isn't doing that great with the younger generation, but it looks like the older generation is making it, that
Yeah.
happen. And then there was no hate. People didn't necessarily like some of the stuff that's happening right now, but man, it was a peaceful experience. There's no one yelling and
Good.
screaming about Star Wars. I mean, it was awesome. Like, there wasn't anything, people are like, well, maybe they should have done this, or maybe should have done that. And then we had these conversations at dinner and things like that, but there was no hate. There was just a lot of love,
Yeah.
love for Star Wars, love for each other, love for everything that we do, love for the people that were there. It was awesome. And I can honestly say, like, it had like this big con yes, but it had like this little con feel, and I hope somehow they can maintain that. I don't know if as they grow they'll be able to, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you, those people, Bobby and Kentucky and some of the other guys, and Josh, I think they're the guys who own Rebel Scum and Order 66 Toys, they will do their best to maintain it so it looks like that and feels like that all the time.
Good.
So, but yeah, that was definitely my biggest thing with the kids that I saw, because I was really excited to see that many little kids dressed up in Star Wars, some really cool cosplay,
Yeah.
and just the love for Star Wars. So
Nice.
that kind of needed after these last 4 or 5
Yeah.
weeks of Star Wars, and nobody had anything
Yeah.
bad to say about it. So it was really cool.
That's good. A bit of positivity brings
Mm.
brings the mood up. Really good to hear. I love
Really.
that. I love that, Jimmy. That's fantastic. Obviously, you've spoken about meeting all the content creators and people dressing up cosplays. What was
Oh
that
yeah,
like? Some good
man.
ones.
For being a small con, there were some top notch There's a Cad Bane. I think I posted the photo, and I'll post all this stuff. There's a Cad Bane that was really awesome.
Yeah.
He had a voice thing in there who sounded like Cad Bane. He
Oh,
was super friendly. He was taking photos with tons of people. There was a Boba Fett that had this thing that popped up and it sprayed like this mist and it looked like fire. I hadn't seen that before, so that was really cool. There's a little kid who was dressed up kind of like Brendan Wayne in the Mando gear. So he had his Mando gear on, then he had a cowboy
okay.
hat on. So I
I
thought that
like
was
it.
pretty cool. I would have liked to have seen Brendan Wayne the first time he saw that kid because I mean it was basically like one of those photos that Brendan Wayne always has. You know,
Yeah.
you can sign and stuff. Is him in that cowboy hat. And there was just tons of stuff. Crafting on Ilum, she had a really great uh, oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? Trilla costume from the first Jedi Fallen Order game. And it was really
Nice.
cool. It was so good that the girl who plays Marin called the girl who plays Trilla and was showing her pictures of it. And so you can imagine Tiara's like losing her mind because Marin and Trilla are talking about her
Gee.
cosplay. And it was things like that. The 501st was there, so their stuff's always top notch. I saw a really good
Yeah.
Costa new, and there was a lot of she was explaining some of the stuff in her costume and um, just telling us some stories about it. When I was talking to her, and just the love she put into it, and some of the stuff that it meant to her was really cool. And you don't see a lot of Jocasta news, but when she walked
No.
by in the corner of my eye, I was like Jocasta new, and there was a guy I was actually talking to another guy in really good, really good Mando suit. And he was even like, "Oh my God, look at that Jocasta news!" So that was pretty cool. And I'm trying to think of what else there was. There was just a ton, for as small of a con as it really was, people wise, percentage
That's
wise,
wicked.
tons of people dressed up. The guy who was hosting it, Bobby, he was dressed up every day. Something Jedi the first day that I was there. I guess it was day 2, and then day 3 was like Grand Admiral Thrawn, and then
Yeah, I've seen him. He looked quality.
he's just having fun. You could really feel his love for Star Wars, but yeah, I mean, it was really quality, and then lots and lots of the vendors were also
Yeah.
dressed in cosplay, which was really cool. Yeah, I've never seen that, even at celebrations
I
and
don't
other
think I
things.
have.
Usually, I mean, the people who were doing sabacc for charity, the one lady was completely Twi'lek, a pink Twi'lek or Twi'lek. Um,
Yeah.
her husband, I believe, was kind of like as a Brock, and there was another guy involved. I think he was dressed up as a Mando the day I met them. We are gonna have them. I've talked to them, and we're gonna interview about what they're doing. There's
Yeah.
some really cool stuff going on, and I missed my chance to interview them there, so we're gonna make up for it later on. Maybe have them on the show. But yeah, so it was
Nice.
a lot of good. It's really hard for me to explain because like you've been to Celebration. This was nowhere near that size. I mean, this is like 1/1000th of that size, and it was just
Yeah.
it was like it really was like just like a miniature celebration. But everything I hate
That's
about
the best.
Celebration, it was not there. So it was
Oh,
phenomenal.
man. Sounds incredible, mate. What about was there any like Star Wars stands? Anyone made like brought a cantina or Emperor's throne room or anything like
There was not any. Well, that's not true. 501st and Rebel Legion were back there, and they had a couple things. I cannot off the top of my head. I don't even know if I made it back that far. They were kind of back in the back, which is usually where those people were put, anyways. Like those groups and stuff like that. People walk around, but no, excuse me. They had a few little builds, nothing like
that?
the Belgian prop builders, or nothing to that scale. But again, this
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
not quite at that level. But I think as it grows, you're going to get more stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
100%. What about merchandise and exclusives? Anything?
No, they had some. Well, they have a really cool shirt that you had to order online because they just it didn't make sense for them to buy a bunch of this stuff, but they have a bunch of Rebel Scum Con stuff, and you can actually go online and they have one this is really clever, and I've got to order this. But it was the Ahsoka's was a T6 ship from the Ahsoka show, T6, T4,
T6.
and it's up like this, and then they have these two things, and it made the Rebel symbol. Oh man, it looks so good.
Ah,
So,
nice.
yeah, but they had some stuff there. They had stuff from their shop and from their online store. And then there's merchandise you could get online. Just so I mean, it made more sense for
Yeah.
them to do it that way. Then it gets shipped right to your house. You don't have to worry about lugging it around if you're down there for a couple of days or whatever.
Nice. It's always good as well. It just saves it. It sounds like it's so well organised in that sort of sense as well.
Oh yeah, they did a good job. I mean, for the first time they did it, they've thought about a lot of stuff. Now these guys don't let me. These guys have been celebrations. I mean, they've been in Star Wars and doing things for Star Wars. It sounds like for years. So they,
Yeah.
they've been. They were talking about being at Comic-Con and San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con. So it's not like they're like, well, we're just going to blindly throw this together. Like they have seen some stuff and done some
Yeah.
stuff themselves
It's
where they're able to like really pull into it.
it sounds like they've done it for passion rather than profit as well.
You know, yes. Now there's always going to be a profit side of things.
There has to be. Yeah.
But yeah, it has to be because I mean it's kind of insane to do that. But the love for it from the guys and gals that I talked to, you could feel it. The guests could feel it. The Star Wars content creators could feel it. The Star Wars actors and actresses, I guess they're all actors now, could feel it. Like it was just such a there was a lot of love. I mean, it just you
Nice.
feel it. It was not just a big heartless machine running. And if they
Yeah.
keep that, this thing will grow and grow and grow. And I just hope they keep adding people that have that passion and they keep that going on. So yeah, it was awesome.
Good. Good. Obviously, you keep mentioning the celebrities and stuff like that. So the biggest question probably on this, mate. Any celebrity meets and greets that you did, or any cool stories?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was the thing. So let me bring this up real quick. I don't want to forget anybody. So I'll go into the people like I just randomly ran into. So Grant Feely, young Luke. I
Nice.
was sitting down, and I happened to find a really good spot to sit down. People were coming, the stars were coming out of there and just kind of hanging out and getting away, and I was just chilling there. And so young Luke comes out with his mom, and I was like, "Hey, Luke, you did a good job." And he didn't hear me. And his mom was like, "Oh, I don't think he heard you." And she grabbed me, like, "Hey, this guy's giving you a compliment." So he came over and started talking to me. I was like, "Hey, man, we're getting any like young Luke Jet, adventures or anything like that?" And he's like, "Man, I hope so. We've been reaching out and trying to find out what's going on." And I just told him like, "Great job, man. You knocked it out of the park." And he seemed like really pleased. He's from Alabama. Um,
Nice.
that was pretty cool. And Tate Fletcher was there, and I got to talk to him for a minute. And then the fun part about this, and this is something I don't know if this will happen again next year, but this week, one of the actors, Adashir Radpour, I know I probably just butchered that name. He's been in Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan. He's in Skeleton Crew coming up. He played a Klatooinian on Mos Espa. He was Kaba Beaz in the Meat Locker, so in the Boba Fett episode. He also was a clone 501st member. And so I was walking and he's like come up beside me. I'm like, "Hey man, how's it going?" He's like, "Good, good, good." And he asked me if I'm having fun. And I was like, "Yeah, how about you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love this. Super fun." Because sometimes I like just trooping. No one knows who I am. But so he actually does 501st cosplay as well, which is pretty cool. Uh,
Nice.
and then of course our friend Brendan Wayne was there. So I talked to him a little bit about his trips and everything like that. Got to talk with Chris Bartlett for a little bit. He's really big in C3PO and
Yeah.
what is he? Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and most of them he's played like Q90, like the bounty hunter droids. He played C3PO and Ahsoka, like all these different things, and his passion for it. We were just able to talk, and that was mostly because of details, telling me to tell him hello, and I did. And he kind of freaked out. Daniel Romero, he was in the Mandalorian. He's part of the Children of the Watch covert, and he on Sunday, this is pretty funny, as Ross Sandbridge comes down, which we'll get to more because I did a lot with Ross this weekend, but he's like talking to Ross. He's being really animated. I'm like, "Man, who's that guy?" And he's like, "Oh, and that's Daniel." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And Daniel's like, "Well, can I get this signed?" Just like fanboying out over Ross, which was cool. And then it took me a minute, and I'm like, "Wait a minute. You're one of the guests here. Like, you're one of the Star Wars people." And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "But man," he goes, I can't get enough of this." He's like, "I get to go meet all these people." And he's like, I was with Ross in like Germany, and we did all this, and I just wanted to make sure I got his autograph. So that was really cool. chatting with him for a little bit. And these guys are so down to earth. These men, these guys and gals are so down to earth.
That's class.
Hanging out with them. They had a couple guys who had played Vader in like The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan and stuff like that, teaching little kid lightsaber lessons. So you have people learning from that. Trying to think of what else we did. There's another guy. I got to talk to the Pirate Vane. I got to have a chat with him Sunday morning.
Nice.
He's really cool, dude. Nalini Krishan, she's a woman who played Barriss Offee in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
She had her significant other there. I got up and got her interview. One of the things that are her signature on a really cool 50th anniversary collection. And so I was talking to her and we were chatting about Barriss, and it was really fun how excited she was that Barriss was back. And she was just like, I don't know if they've answered any questions. But then later on, I recognized her significant other and he was sitting there. So I just went down and I was like, hey man, you having fun? He's like, yeah, he's like, these things aren't that much fun for me because I'm not a star. So I just sat down like, so how'd you guys meet? And we're just talking about it. And he's giving me the backstory about how he and Barriss Offee met and how she's, she moved to California, and he's a big Star Wars fan. So he's like, yeah, the first time she moved to the house and she had all of her stuff shipped to us. He's like, I just wanted to go through it all. And, but he was really pleasant. He came over and chatted with me for a few minutes. It was just things like that. And then, of course, I spent a ton of time with Ross Sandbridge, who is Snoke. He was a Wookiee and a Wookiee slave in Solo. And he and I got to do a ton of stuff together. We took him out to dinner, a bunch of the content creators. We got to hang out, and he was singing our praises here at Explore the Force. So when I got there, people were like, "Oh, you're Jimmy. Ross has talked about you." And so like they just let me kind of do and go mostly where I wanted because I was Ross's friend. So big shout out to Ross Sandbridge for hooking me up with, something I probably didn't deserve really, but and then it was so cool. Like Rory Ross, who was also in The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan. I made this post before I left, and he's like, "What about me?" or something like that. And I didn't want to put there's 44 people there. I didn't want to put them all on there. And so I was just talking with them online, and I was sitting at the table. And this guy walks by and he's like, "Explore the Force." I had no idea who he was. I just jumped up like, "Hey man, what's up?" And I high-fived him and stuff. And he's like, "I gotta go take this photo. I'll be right back." And I was like, "Wait a minute. That was Rory Ross." I was just like completely blown away. So I mean, it was just so funny. And then a lot of the people like Susanna Malik, she was in The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. She played a Jawa, a gas mask. It's a Boban. And she was in Navarro Milito. She was a firecracker, man. Right? She's a little person, and we had a handful of people who played Ewoks and some really small aliens. They were a ride. Every time they'd come walking by, I'm not going to say some of the stuff that they said, but they were a hoot. And then they would see you later because the con was small enough that they would recognize you, and they'd be like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And it was so. I really, really, really hope that they can maintain that feeling of I know I think they had one issue with someone not leaving a celebrity alone, from what I understand. But I hope that doesn't ruin it because I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, hey," and they would take, and the people were actually really nice because like myself, just like patrons or whatever, because they weren't asking them for photos outside of their area. Cause like, well, you're here to do a job. Like it would be kind of messed. Not like Celebration where if you saw someone, you'd be like, "Hey, can I get a photo real quick?" Like you would do that at Celebration, and most of us would. It would be insane not to. But especially everyone was kind of like respectful of their time. It didn't seem like anybody was being, I didn't hear any stories about anyone being too insane. I only heard there was only like one little incident. So those are just the people that I didn't pay to see. Like, and I was just, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it was bonkers. Like, I mean,
nice.
That'll probably never happen to me again. It was so much fun. So,
what about those that you did pay to see? How were those?
That was a good time. So I'm just going to slide back up here. Um, and I got to talk to Amy Allen. She didn't remember me specifically. She remembered the situation she was in from Celebration. She's a lady who plays Ayla Sakura, and
Yes.
I was getting I was getting Aurora Singh and Barris Offie, and they were on both sides of her. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, Miss Allen, I was like, I got your autograph at Celebration. I'm not ignoring you. She goes, oh, that's okay. And I was like, I don't know if you remember this. I said, but at Celebration Anaheim, your parents were lost, and you were trying to talk to them and try to find them, and we had to send somebody to go find them. And she goes, oh my gosh, I do remember that. So we were kind of laughing about that. But I think the first people I got in there, and it was really easy that day I was there because it was Friday. So most people were still at work just because
Yeah.
teachers. But I went in and I got, let me see here. I don't have all that stuff in front of me. First person I met was Michonne. I'm going to butcher her last name. Baragu. She is the lady who played Aura Singh in The Phantom Menace. And we got to hear her backstory at one of the panels, but she was super sweet, super nice. She had stopped doing them for so long just because of like the negativity and things like that. But she's come back to it because like the love that she came back for one small one, and she's like, oh, all right, everything's kind of cool again, and came back, and she was really, really nice. And you could sit there and talk to him as long as you could. I didn't want to make things awkward, so I just kind of chatted about her character and asked her what she was up to, and she was super sweet. Nalini Krishan, like I told you, talked to her. She is Barris Offie, and we just kind of chatted, and she was really excited that her character is back. She had some questions. She's like, I still don't know what's going on because, the way that Tales of the Empire ended and things like that. So that was pretty cool. I met Paul Darnell, who played Marak.
Nice.
He was Marak. He was Cobb Vanth's double, Nightwind Assassin, Tuscan Imperial Super. He was a Shriek Hawk, Mandalorian, Praetorian Guard, and Death Trooper, all in the Mandalorian.
Oh.
He was so nice, and I asked him about Ray Stevens, and he just told me a bunch of stories about what a nice guy he was and what a professional, and how like it was like one to every time you see us, for the most part, because of Ray, like he would just deliver everything, and it was just like perfect. He was prepared. He was like, he just crushed it. He was super nice. And he had nothing bad to say. He just is like, we really miss him. It's kind of a bummer. Obviously it's a bummer, and they're disappointed that anyone passes away. But I mean, he was only, was it 58 or 60, something like that? I think he wasn't that old. But he had some really nice stories to tell. So I got all of those people, and Tina Ivled, who is Marin in the Fallen Order series.
Nice.
And she was really, really nice. She, we were just chatting, and I was talking to her about at the third installment. She goes, "It's going to be crazy." Obviously they can't tell us anything, but she's like, she was just talking about it and how excited she is to get back. I guess they're getting ready to start filming her parts or whatever, or coming up. And so she will be headed back to do that pretty soon. But she was really pleasant. She's really tiny. I was kind of surprised. You just never know how big these people are or anything like that. Just kind of caught me off guard. I don't know why I thought she was going to be taller or something, but she was pretty small, super nice, really friendly. And I knocked those all out in like the first hour, and it only took an hour.
Mate.
I chatted with them. I could have dragged that out all day long. And then I got a photo with Lateef Crowder and Brendan Wayne, and got some stuff signed by them, and they were just fun to talk to. It was really cool. And then, so yeah, I'm trying to think if I got like 5 or 6 things, and the price point, I still don't think I paid for all those different autographs, and you could get selfies at the table. I still don't think I paid as much as I did just for Ewan McGregor's signature or his photograph. Like, I think I paid, I would, it was so reasonable. And that was a big point for the people who were running the con, was to make it so that people could afford to go. Like, you sit there and you take a family, I mean, it's not free. They got to pay these people, and these people want to make money. But, they, but the price point, I mean, you couldn't beat it. Ahmad Best was $75. 75.
And the thing is, like you said, mate, these people are getting families that are going with the kids and that are going to remember these experiences. You know, all these actors now are, not that they already haven't, but solidifying themselves in Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, I mean that was a thing too, and you could watch some of the interactions, and you could see like just, and you see this a lot in celebrations too. But like the actors were taking their time with the kids and really making sure that the kids were getting out
That's
as
good.
much as they could, and they're doing their part for Star Wars and to continue it growing by being these really good ambassadors for the IP. So it was pretty exciting. Like I said, it was just, this is like a lot of love that week. I'm sounding like a hippie or whatever, but man, it was just, you could feel it. Everyone was digging it. It was a really good vibe. So I mean, that put the actors in a really good mood. That
Yeah.
put the people in a really good mood, and that combination was awesome. And then yeah, so, and of course with Ross Sandbridge, we took him out to dinner because he was, came on the show, and I went down there to meet him in person, and we took him out to dinner. We had some beverages together, and so that was a lot of fun. And he was very, very generous with his time as well. He may or may not have hooked me up with a few Wookiee things because he knows how much I love the Wookiees, so he kind of hooked me up. But yeah, it was just an absolute. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't spend more money while I had this opportunity, but I was kind of like, I don't want to do them all this year and have no reason, to go down next year. But then the panels, which is the next thing I want to talk about, the panels were so good.
Yeah,
And
we saw some videos of you causing chaos.
and I was in front seat for almost every single one of them. And I made friends with the people who were running the room. A little lesson I learned from Jack: make friends with everybody. So I was able to get up front for almost everything, and just the stories and stuff that they were telling, just phenomenal,
Oh,
phenomenal.
man.
So stuff that you're just never going to hear, um, anywhere else.
Yeah.
Probably they were real. They felt real comfortable and real casual. Like they did not. You could tell they did not feel like they were being. The pressure of it being like a celebration or whatever was not there.
That's good.
So they were just
That's
real
good.
loose with their stories and some of their language, which was, but it was pretty fun.
Oh, nice. Tell us about the story that everyone's seen on Instagram where you're causing a
Oh my
bit of a
gosh.
hoo-ha.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that was the Saturday one.
Yeah,
So
I
there
think it
was
was Latif was next to you.
yeah, so I'm trying to remember which one that was. Oh, This Is the Way, the actors inside Din Djarin. So that had Latif, it had Barry Lowen, and it had Brendan Wynn, of course. And they were all up there, and they were doing giveaways, and I missed it every single time, or I missed a trivia or whatever. And then Tiara scooped me up on the last one, and she won the last giveaway, which was really cool. But if you've seen the video, it's pretty funny. They had this Mando helmet, and Latif's like, I don't even have one of those. And it was a Black Series Mando helmet, and he's like, I don't even have one of those. And the guy who was hosting, Kevin, was like, well, if you have a good question, you can ask it, and if it's the best question, then you get the helmet. And so Latif just jumps up, grabs his microphone, and there was a seat between me and this other guy, and he just sits right down in there. And then the Kevin guy is like, hey, the good looking guy in the front. And of course, I couldn't help myself. I was like, are you talking to him or me? Like, I'm confused. Who are you talking? And then Latif, like, he's like, oh, yeah, wait, are you talking to him? Like, pointing to me and stuff like that. So it was just, like, when is Latif Carter going to jump down beside you and joke with you about stuff?
Man,
Go with it.
incredible.
So, and then the love between those three, like those three Mando actors, man, you could feel like they were definitely brothers. I'll post that full. I have all the panels I was at. I have them. Just got to upload them all, and I'll throw them up there. All credit going to Rebel Scum Con, of course. I'm not trying to like scoop anything, but they were just so good. I want to share these with people because of the stuff they talked about, and you could just feel the love. One person asked Brendan if he was, ever thought about leaving the show where he could show his face, and he says, well, there was an opportunity. he wouldn't say what it was. I'm assuming it was probably Yellowstone, because who wouldn't want Brendan Wayne in that? But he wouldn't say. He's just like, at the end of the day, I want to be with my brothers. And Lateef said the same thing. And they're real friendly with Barry Lowen as well, who sounds like he kind of like, they'll be filming multiple different things. So if they need him to do something or stunts going on, like they're all kind of bringing the suit to life. It just, the three of them just praised each other in the work that they do. And it was just, and I'm sure like some of that has to come from like Pedro getting all the credit as the Mandalorian. But I do
100%.
feel like if you're really into Star Wars, like not just like a casual fan, like that it's these three guys that are really doing a bulk of the work, by this point in the episode, in the seasons. So that was really fun. And like I said, I'll post. I think I have all that one,
Nice.
but I'll post all those hopefully this week before we hit the road. So, but
nice.
And then we had a couple. We had the panel of Boba Fett. Now I didn't record that whole thing. It kind of didn't really dawn on me to do that until later on. But you had people who played Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back. You had people who played Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi. They were telling stories about the Sarlacc pit and how everyone and their mother broke their legs going into that thing. And so it was just Dickie Beers and Julius Flores. Basically, Julius fell into that pit like 47,000 times. He's the only one who could seem to do it without getting hurt. And he ended up playing a bunch of different characters because he was only supposed to be there as Lando's body double, but ended up playing the Weequay and all this other stuff and telling all these stories. And then, of course, the guy who doubles for Tim Morrison. And I did ask him if we would see him doubling for Boba Fett in an upcoming movie. And he says, too many NDAs. I don't know what you're talking about. So it does sound like the Boba Fett will be in the Mando and Grogu movie. But, of course, tell us. So that was really fun. Then we had a prequel Jedi Council, and it was Amy Allen, Michonne, who plays Aurora Singh, Nalini, who plays Barasafi, and Ahmad Best came into it. I wasn't sure he was supposed to. But in that one, he stole the show. They all had really great stories about how they got into it, and it's really fun. I think I have most of that one as well. But they just crushed it as far as telling stories. And most of those women were pretty funny because they're like, I was in Michonne was like, I was in the movie for 5 seconds. She goes, and everything that's happening in the Clone Wars and in the comics, people love it. So she's like, I get to pay the benefit of it. And she did say that, because I asked her at her table, was like, did George ever tell you like how, or did you film all that extra stuff that we always hear about? She's like, no, but George and I had this conversation, and he told her that he had all this stuff planned, and then just kind of, those productions were kind of a little bit of a mess, it seemed like, from the behind the scenes. And so all the stuff he wanted to do with her never really panned out. And then, so there was some good stuff in there. Ahmad Best, I asked a question to him, and I asked a question to the whole group, and they had some good answers for it. And the question was like, I told him, I was honest with him. I was like, I may have been one of those grumpy fans when the original, the prequels came out, and just didn't love them. I said, but when I left the theater or the 25th anniversary, I was almost in tears about how much I love Star Wars, and just thinking about how much it means to me. And they were really nice about that. And then Ahmad told the story about him talking to George, because apparently George called him, and the day that it all released, the 25th anniversary, and George had some really nice things to say to Ahmed, because he's like, those two went through the most, him and then Jake Wood, of course, brought some of that stuff up. But he talked to us about how George talked to him about the Force at George's 80th birthday. And so I'm going to post that a little bit later on. It was really cool, and it's a little bit different from some of the stuff that you've heard. There was that, and then there was a bunch of stuff. I wish I had gone to some of these panels of courage, because they did some of the Endor stuff and some of the Ewok Avengers, and the Kevin guy. He was phenomenal. And then we got treated to Ahmed Best talks Jar Jar to Keller and Beck, and I will post this. This interview was phenomenal. I am going to play the one clip that we've posted, and this is one thing he said, and it is cut up a little bit to save time, but I'll just play this. right now, and then we can chat about it. And this,
Yeah.
I am so. I'll just go into this saying this before I show this. I've never been a big Jar Jar fan, right? But I've never been a person who thinks, well, Ahmed Best sucks because he played this character that I don't like.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is going on. But as a human being and as a man, Ahmed Best won me over. Like, I am the biggest Ahmed Best fan now because of the stuff that I heard him say.
What was it
Whoops.
being in a cantina scene, not in the original trilogy, with a bunch of other alien characters around?
I loved it. And the cantina scene in A New Hope and that bar scene in Clones, the thing that I find so very interesting about that and in Star Wars is when people look at that scene, they go, wow, look at all the different creatures in this one place. And they're all doing the same thing, like having a drink, right? If we really kind of unpack that, that's America, right? That's what we look like when we're walking down the street, right? In Star Wars, no one has a problem with it, yeah? Everybody wants it. We want to see what a Twi'lek is, right? We want to see who's the dude with the scar. We want to see all of these different creatures in these different places. But for some reason, when we're outside of Star Wars, nobody wants to do that. We want to fight about who's different. We want to call people a thing and put them in a different place, right? One of the reasons why I love sci-fi is because of all the creatures in the one room, right? It's because we can learn about these. I mean, we all find the most obscure Star Wars character and put their skin on. We cosplay as them to be different, right? To understand them, right? We learn about where they're from. We learn about who their family is, and we love that, right? Let's bring that here. Let's take that out of Star Wars and put it in our regular everyday lives. Think about how beautiful our universe is, how beautiful our galaxies would be, you know? So those scenes really move me because that's what I want to see every day. I want to be in that cantina in Mos Eisley. I want to learn every day.
All right.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, I mean, and it was just things like that. And he said some stuff for about teachers, and another one where some stuff he's talking about Keller and Beck, and he's got
Yeah.
some stuff planned for that character and for teachers, and it just he absolutely blew me away. I want to get this message out. Like, I feel like the stuff he said that day was so important, and it made so much sense. Why
Yeah,
is
it
it that
does.
these people who are like so, and I don't want to get into all that crap anymore. I kind of, after this weekend, I don't even want to discuss some of the stuff that's happening on the internet, but like,
Yeah.
why is it okay for us to want to know all these things about all these creatures and, like he said, cosplay and do all this and all that, and then you come out of that and people treat people like trash, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. And it's just I was blown
Yeah.
away. Like, I've never left a con celebration, planning con, none of them, being inspired by something I've heard there. And I was just like, this stuff has to get out. And I will be, people who follow us on social media, you're going to hate me for a while because I am pushing this until someone gets it and this gets out. And this is like trending around the world because this, I
Yeah.
think, is one of the most important messages in Star Wars that needs to be said. Like, I was absolutely blown away by it. So, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I was blown away. And so that was just the level of stuff that we got to hear, and
Yeah.
he was fantastic. And I know we're kind of going long here, but then there was just some stuff like there's the Women of Star Wars, which I missed that one. The Next Generation with some of the younger people. We had a Skeleton Crew / Predators / Wookiees panel. That was pretty good. But of course, the people in Skeleton Crew couldn't really say anything. They gave us all the buzzwords. They were really funny about it. They had a good time. But then Carrie Jones and Ross talked about being Wookiees, and then they talked a little bit about the Predator movies and things like that. So it was a lot of fun. I think that was the last one. Nope, I went to the original trilogy reunion, and that was a riot. We had people playing Ewoks. We had people who were stuntmen. We had the guy who blew everything up. If I can remember his name, pretty funny guy. He's a little bit older, and he had a little bit of time hearing stuff.
Yeah.
But his thing was, if you want it blown up, call me. And like it was like the thing, like, oh, how are we going to do this? And then call Thane Morris. He's got his Indiana Jones hat on. This was his first time he came in, and if I wish I would have had more resources to get to meet some of these people.
Yeah.
Because you do have to prioritize. But after hearing them talk, I was like, oh man, like I want to go up and meet this guy and just be like, dude, he's the guy who blew up the skiff. He's the guy who blew up the Death Star. I mean, he's so funny and matter of fact about stuff. He's like, yeah, I blew it up. So he was pretty funny. But yeah, that was a really great panel. That was the last one I think I went to that day. And I went in, got to talk to Ross Sunday morning, and then I took off for home. But yeah, overall, it's just, my goodness, like what an adventure. What an absolute adventure.
Awesome. It sounds like you had an amazing time, mate, and I'm super jealous.
I honestly think it's worth you coming over here next year for it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll keep my eye out on the dates for sure, mate. 100%. And then the last thing, mate, I think we should definitely cover is the other podcasters and content creators.
Yeah.
Any big shout outs? Any good stories?
Well, the biggest shout out is going to go to Tiara from Crafting on Ilum, because she was there with her significant other, right? But they let me hang out with them, always checking in on me, because I was there by myself. And then Nilda got there on Saturday, and she was a riot. I met the Dad Vader. His cosplay was so funny. He got, I'll post the photos with him. It's one of those ones where you're just like, oh man, you're on it, you're onto it. And so he was really friendly. General Kenobi's bunker was there.
Yes.
Now, I'll say this one thing though, is like, oh, I'm this person, I'm that person, and we're this person. Like, everyone's by their handle, so I'm not even sure sometimes what people's actual first names are. That, I think that's a problem, to be honest. But Dark Side Turntable, I mean, I want to make sure I'm saying that one right. He was super friendly. Gosh, there were just so many that were turntables of the dark side. That's it. Sorry, that were there. And then of course I think I don't know if I posted the photo yet or not, but we all went out to dinner. We took Ross with us. He was having a ride, getting to chat with everybody, and then kind of separated the tables. It was a long table, so we kind of had our conversations and had your groups that you were talking to. But yeah, just hanging out, having fun. We've already talked about with some of those guys, like, let's rent a big Airbnb and I'll just hang out. Because I was telling them about my situation where I was just in a room by myself in this big giant house. And it was kind of funny. He's like, what do you mean? Like, everyone can get rooms? I was like, yeah, you could all rent a room and then we'd have the whole house basically to ourselves. He's like, oh, we got to do that for next year. So I was like, yeah, let's go. So
Japan's going to be a blast.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys and gals are going to Japan. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll tell you what, folks, the more people you meet, the more people you make connections with, it really makes these celebrations a lot more special, because you get to share this stuff with people. And, and I know, like, Chicago was really amazing for me because it was the first time I ever went to one. So I was just completely blown away by everything. Anaheim, ugh. But then, coming to London, obviously meeting Jack, and everybody else, it was super fun. And it led us to this. And then Japan's going to be, I think, going to be really cool, because then you're going to have some people who weren't there that are coming that we know. And it's just the community. And that's what really bothers me. I don't want to keep harping on this, but like the negativity that's out there right now. But you get in groups like this, and now everyone had everything glowing to say about Acolyte. We all had, like, little minor things, but nothing that was like, well, nothing like what we've gotten called or said like that. And we're actually sharing stories of some of this awful things that people said to us. And, with more followers comes more crazy. And I'm thankful for the group that we have so far, and we're growing, but everyone's been positive and love Star Wars, and I hope we continue doing that. So
hopefully so, bro. It sounds like you've absolutely had an amazing time. I've really enjoyed listening to it. You've sold it to me. I'll definitely be looking at the dates. Hopefully, it all falls and the stars align. I can't wait for celebration with you again, Jimmy, as you already know. Thank you again for sharing everything, Jimmy. Thank you to all the content creators as well. And Tiara, I think I messaged Tiara thanking her for looking out for you.
Yeah, she did a great job.
But yeah, it's been amazing, mate. I can't wait. Again, please, everyone that's listening, keep watching the socials. Jimmy's going to drop no end of awesome content for us to enjoy. Great job this weekend, buddy. Again, we're over the 600 mark. Anyone that wants to join the socials, Explore the Force, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, and YouTube, please remember to subscribe. Jimmy, again, thank you so much. Any final words?
If you can get to Dallas next year, get your butt there. So that's all as far as that's because I can't sell it anymore, I don't think, than what it just blew me away.
Get there. Get there's the final word. Awesome. So from me then, Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
And for all of us, again, thank you to everyone from Rebel Scum Con, Order 66 Toys, all the actors, actresses, all the content creators for what might be one of the best weekends of my Star Wars career in my life. And for all of us, we have spoken. We'll see you guys next week.
See you later.